The future of football is now. The NFL Draft is here, and the Athletic Football Show is bringing you all the action live on YouTube on April 24th and 25th.
From the first overall pick in the draft all the way through the last pick in round 3, we'll break it all down in real time. Who's going at the top? What trades will shake up the draft board? There's no angle in this draft that we won't cover.
We'll have expert analysis, insight powered by the Beast, guests from the Athletic newsroom, and everything you need to know from one of the NFL's signature events.
Don't just watch the draft, experience it with the Athletic Football Show, streaming live on YouTube, April 24th and 25th. Now, this one I'm excited about. This one I've been looking forward to for a while here. We have two of the best, I would say the two best in the business these days in the draft space, here to talk about their mid-round gems. Two guys that do this deeper than anybody, and we're going to put that to good use today, talking about guys they like outside of the top 75 at both at all of these positions, at several positions. Here to help me with that, it is our draft expert at The Athletic, Dane Brugler. Dane, how you doing, man?
I'm with you. I was really excited for this one. DJ is the best. He is at the top of the mountain in this industry. And so to have him here with us to talk about these players, some of the off-the-radar guys, is going to be a lot of fun.
Now, I'm stoked to be here, dude. I get it's like a 2-for-1 here. I get two buddies, one draft conversation, and then knowing how Dane, you know how nice of a guy Robert is. For him to wear, I believe, is a Cubs hat to remind me of an incredible Padres win last night was just, what a gem of a human being, right?
Who had under 2 minutes? Yeah, that makes sense.
And we're undefeated at home.
What I really appreciate about you, DJ, is that you have like 17,000 media obligations over the next week or so, and you're still just dead set on only caring about how the Padres are doing right now.
I told somebody this. I think it might have been Rosillo, but I told somebody this morning. I can't remember who it was, but this is, or no, it might have been Siciliano. I'm such a sicko. This is what a sicko I am. That I had to finish up some draft stuff for like when the guys get picked. It's like a baseball card, right? So it's a picture of the guy and has a couple nuggets, and then we go into the highlight tape and break it down. So I have to come together, put the 3 terms that I want on the sheet when the guys get picked for like 200 guys or whatever it is. So I finished that up, watched the end of the Padre game, and then it was a great game. And then I'm like, I should go to bed. Like I got a full plate here. I'm like, you know what? If I wait an hour, I get access to the Cubs broadcast, so I can listen to the Cubs broadcasters on Fernando Tatis's 2 home runs. I stayed up an extra hour just to go to sleep with Shambi and Sutcliffe's voice in my head. The anguish as Fernando Tatis hit 2 home runs. I'm sick. I know I am. It's okay.
You are a more dedicated man than I. I sincerely appreciate that. We're going to run through, I think it's 7 positions that I sent you guys to pick guys from, just because I don't want to do every position. I bucketed some of them together. We got running backs, receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, DBs. And I'm asking you guys for your 2 favorite players outside of the consensus top 75 at every single one of those positions. I wanted to use you two to kind of dig a little bit deeper than we have recently on the shows. We've talked about kind of the top tranche of players at a lot of these spots. So DJ, you are the guest here. I'm going to let you kick this off with running backs. Give me a running back outside of the consensus top 75 that you like and that you are keeping your eye on next week.
Well, it's challenging because some ways with the way this works is guys that I might have in my top 75, but they won't be consensus top 75. So I guess that kind of gets to the point here. So I don't know exactly where this player is on everybody's list, but for me, he's like one of my most fun players to watch at the running back position is RJ Harvey from Central Florida. He's undersized. He's 5'8", 205. He ran 4.4 flat. He plays faster than that. He has there's like a Tariq Cohen with like a turbo pack on his back is kind of like who he reminds me of. But he is a really good player, hits a ton of home runs, big time bursts. They use him as a wildcat, which is just fun to watch. He can catch the ball. I mean, obviously pass protection size wise, there's going to be some issues there. I'm not asking him to do that. But just, one of my favorite day 3 guys, regardless of position, I'll go RJ Harvey.
Looking at the consensus board right now, Dane, he is 98th on the most recent consensus board that we put out on The Athletic this morning. And that's actually, he's risen. He was not inside the top 100 until the most recent board. So I think he's somebody, and this happened to me when I watched him for the first time, I really liked him. And I think he's somebody that has gained a lot of admirers over the course of the process the last few weeks or month or so, Dane.
Well, and he's in my top 100 too. I mean, he is he's fun. He's fun to watch because he is a tough guy to tackle. He stresses the defense in different ways. And I think it was maybe the TCU game where he will make guys miss, but he'll run over a safety as well. And so built low to the ground, former quarterback. There's just a lot to like about the player. And with this running back class, we talk so much about Genty and Hampton and two Ohio State guys at the top. But that next tier, RJ Harvey is right there in that mix. He's one of the best seniors at the running back position in this draft, no doubt.
I'm a big fan of his. Do I get one more then?
You get one more, DJ. You get two at each position. So
two at every position. So I love that one. And the next one, I don't know where he is on the list, but gosh, I want him on my team. I'm a little bit. I think that the league might be a little bit lower on him, but how do you call yourself an American and not like Cam Skattebo? Like, he's just I think I wrote in my notes, the phrase that I use is like, he is so thirsty for contact. Like, I think like his life source is contact. Like, he can't, it's air to him. Like, he has to have contact. And there's just a violent nature to his play that I appreciate. So I don't know where he is on the consensus, but most teams that I talk to are not as high on him as as maybe the media world is.
We're giving you this one. He is 81st on the current consensus board, so he is just outside of the top 75. When you've talked to teams, DJ, what are the concerns? Like, what do you think is the gap between maybe how some people on this side of the fence are looking at him and how some people in the NFL are looking at him, where maybe they're seeing downsides we're not seeing?
Yeah, they're just saying no juice, like he doesn't have juice. That's literally the complaint there. And, it's not sustainable to run the way that he runs long term. Like, you're just not going to physically hold up running like that at the next level. The guy can catch it. He's, to me, he's like I think I used the phrase, he'd be like James Conner if you left him in the dryer too long. Like, that's like the vision of what I have for him.
So that in your mind, that's like the best case scenario, is that he ends up becoming like a James Conner-like sort of player.
Yeah, I mean, James Conner. I mean, all I know is I suck at fantasy football, and every year I look at the team that wins, and they always have James Conner. And I just go, well, I guess I should have taken him.
That's Cam Skattebo's destiny, is to be the boring fantasy pick no one wants to make, and then he rushes for 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns, he went like the 9th round, and everyone's mad because it's just not exciting. Dan, we've talked about this. Names we've thrown out in terms of the best case scenario for him. Can he be a David Montgomery sort of player? I mean, the production is hard to deny. I think that the physical gifts and maybe the lack thereof is what might give teams pause when we get into day 3 next week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a big jump between Big 12 defenses that he saw consistently and then what he's going to see in the NFL. And so can he still break tackles at a similar rate? Can he still get the yards after contact consistently? He just missed my top 100. I have like a early to mid 4th on him, so I'm kind of right there in that neighborhood as well. But because he's a hammerhead and he can catch the ball well, so you know what you're getting. 4.65 40 at the pro day, not great, but I think that was kind of expected. That's what the tape says. But yeah, I think there's no mystery with what you're getting with Cam Skattebo.
Dane, your two guys, we've talked about both of them a little bit because we did a deep dive on the running backs last week or 2 weeks ago. It's hard to keep track at this point. We don't have to spend a ton of time on these, but your first guy was Jordan James from Oregon, who is somebody that you really like, even among this pretty crowded running back group.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to lead the league in homers, but he'll lead the league in doubles. And so if you want that 60-yard run, he's not going to be for you. But if you want a guy that can get 6 consistently, I think it's Jordan James. And it shows in what the production he had at Oregon. 36.5% of his carries resulted in a first down or touchdown. There's just no nonsense the way he runs. He's not going to dance. He knows the blocking scheme. He's going to hit it, go for the sticks. And I think there's just the no-nonsense run attack that he brings is something that I can get on board with.
Where do you sit with James, DJ?
I have him 2 spots below Skattebo on my list. So that's where I have him at the running back position. Instinctive. I love the fact he protects the football. He's strong. He can get skinny through the trash. I thought he had short area burst. I didn't think he had long speed. But man, they can use him in the pass game on the rail, the swing, whip routes. Like he's someone that's very comfortable and usable in the passing game. So to me, like that puts him like where I have him on the stack of running backs. Now I have other running backs above those guys that we've already been talking about. So that would put Jordan James probably like, he's probably in like my mid to late 4th round, early 5th round, like in that department.
Where do you have him ranked among running backs, DJ? Just for context,
So
Dane has him 7th.
Yeah, he's not going to be that high for me. I have, I have gone through, I have to put out my top 150 next week, so I'm 50 deep, and I have certain positions I've already finished up for this process, and running back, I've already got my top 6, and then I have grades, but grade-wise, that would put him at like 7, 8. He's going to be like 11, 12, somewhere in that range.
Do you think that says more about the logjam of guys in that range than it does about Jordan James?
They're all different flavors, so...
Yeah.
Like
ice cream.
Like Jaden Blue is, some teams love him. They have a vision for him and exactly how they're going to use him, and they're going to have him way higher than others, So this running back group is totally flavor based, just what you're looking for. And I'm probably, like one of the reasons why I love RJ Harvey so much is because I watch the Chargers all year long with no juice at the running back position. Like, Dobbins Sal was a good player, but gosh, you want somebody that can, when you get Slater and Alt and these guys creating all this space, you want to pay it off. So I've kind of leaned, for the most part of my rankings, I have a little more lean towards guys with juice.
Dane, as we've kind of reconceived how we build running back rooms, and teams just concede at this point that we're going to need multiple guys to put this thing together. Very few teams have a do-it-all back that you can rely on in every facet of the game. Has that changed the way that you've thought about how you're grading, scouting, and stacking running backs in the process? Just because a guy doesn't have to be everything to a given team because most teams have multiple options?
Well, and that's what makes it tough when, DJ and I doing this from a national point of view. We're not scouting for a specific scheme or, an already roster that's already built where we can drop in a certain player under the depth chart and it kind of completes the picture. We're doing this from a very general point of view and kind of pointing out, right, this is what he does well. This is where he might struggle a little bit. Ideal for this scheme, that scheme. And so, stacking these guys, we're going to get a lot of differing opinions, and between teams, which makes it interesting as you try to, because I don't think there's a right or wrong way to complete a running back depth chart, right? It's not like you need the Thunder and the Lightning. You need guys that are going to help you get first downs and help score touchdowns. And there's different visions about how to do that.
Yeah, you've got so many carries. You've got so many carries. And so it's how do I maximize these carries? And if they're all similar, different, don't really care. I just want to maximize the number of carries that we have this year. And to just echo Dane's point real quick, from a job description, the way I look at what we're doing on this side of it, outside of a team, is ranking players is impossible because we don't work for teams and we don't know how he's going to be used or where he's going to go. I view our job to be able to explain what this player is, who he is, what he will do, provided you take him and put him in the right position. And then when your team drafts him, you can go back and look up Dane's report and go, okay, well, this is the offense we run. Oh, I see why we picked this player. He's really good at doing this. And maybe we need to, have somebody else that fills in and does that. We're just coloring in the picture for where these guys end up.
It's funny, Dane, because if DJ is leaning toward the home runner hitters because he was watching the Chargers up close last year, you're leaning toward the hammerheads here because Jarquez Hunter is your other guy outside of the top 75 that you like. And you just seem to like the guys who are willing to run through a brick wall this year.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's guys that get more than what is blocked for them. If Jarquez Hunter, he's only 5'9", 205, but he's built out of bricks and mortar. His muscles have muscles, and he runs like it. He led the SEC in yards per carry last year, 6.4. He kind of a little bit of a slasher, so he's consistently picking up 10 yards here, 12 yards there. The vision, the tempo can be a little spotty at times, but I love the run balance, the toughness. If you're a defender, you better finish him to the ground because he's not going to make it easy on you. And I think it's hard for a running back in the SEC, especially at school like Auburn, to be underrated. But I don't know. It sure feels that way with Hunter.
Yeah, I was going through my notes here. The only thing I had him, he did run well, but I thought he kind of was a one-speed guy when I watched him. I thought he did have some vision and cutback stuff. I thought he was more, he step through tackles. He likes to get on a track and go. I didn't think he was, and again, it's just whatever flavor you're looking for. Going through my notes, I didn't see somebody who was going to make you miss and, be kind of have the wiggle on that area of his game. So what are you looking for? If that's what you're looking for, somebody that can get one cut, get north and south and run, you're going to like him a little bit more.
Let's get to the receivers here, DJ. Your first receiver outside your top 75 or the consensus-ish top 75 that you have an eye on or that you've liked in the process.
Yeah, again, I'll give you – this one's going to be right on the edge. Tory Horton, to me, especially off 23, I just think I think his game translates really well out of Colorado State. He's got size. He's 6'2.5". He's almost 200 pounds. He ran well coming off of that injury. But he's such a smooth, easy mover. He gets separation. He's elusive with the ball in his hands. One of the simple things is just you don't see many of these guys that understand how to work back. He can work back downhill, doesn't just have to be on the move. He's got a big catch radius. So it's not going to be off of what you saw this year because of the injuries. But you go back to 23, I'm a big Tory Horton guy.
Dane, how do you feel about Tory Horton, considering he was the first guy you wanted to mention here?
Is it really?
Yeah.
I wondered how many positions we'd get through before we would double up like this. Yeah, Tory Horton, I mean, and I go back to that, not this past year, the year before, right, that Colorado State thriller, and how big of an impact Tory Horton made in that game. And I don't know if it's because the right knee injury this year, so he missed the second half of the season. Maybe he's being a little bit underrated. But, I mean, think about it, Colorado State has had a nice run here of producing pass catchers. Michael Gallup and Rashard Higgins, throw Trey McBride in there, and Horton's he's the latest one, 6'2.5", 200 pounds. So he's a little skinnier than you want, but I mean, he can fly. I mean, you get him on some of those verticals or some of the crossers where he can stretch out that stride, that gliding stride that he has, and he's going to create problems for defenses. So there are times where I think physical defensive backs will disrupt the catch point, give him a little bit of trouble. So just the overall play strength is a little bit of a concern. But speed, fluidity, natural tracking skills, I mean, just all the things that you were saying, DJ, yeah, I think that matches up. And he also was a big-time punt returner in college. I think he had 3 punt return touchdowns. So a punt returner immediately, a guy that you think can potentially grow into a starting Z receiver in the NFL. And the asking price is probably going to be, mid to late third-round pick. He's being underrated, I think.
Yeah, another thing is, you know how many times in talking to teams and talking to GMs and coaches and coordinators, you know how many times his name's come up through this entire process? 0. Which my antenna's always up when somebody's always being talked about. That like, right. There's a lot of, and then I'm also antenna up when nobody wants. I haven't heard the guy's name once, and I'm like, his tape's really good. Never once has anybody brought it up. So I think everybody's trying to pull a little rope-a-dope on that one.
These guys who have a ton of juice and maybe struggle with physicality, DJ, this world that we're living in now where teams are so good at creating separation for these guys, using motion, using stacks, all of that, does it change the way that you think about a player who has that sort of verticality but may struggle with some of those issues with physical defensive backs in a way that maybe you look at them a little differently than you would have 4 or 5 years ago?
I have a simple philosophy. If you're stiff and can't get off press with strength, you're screwed. That's when I have my issues. When you are a loose, fluid athlete and you're getting hung up every now and then, I'm like, okay, he's got quick feet, he's loose, he's fluid. Like we can get better. We can get better in this area. We can help him early on in his career, but I do think that is something that you can improve on. If you're stiff and you're just going to expose your chest, and you might just be a big engine guy who's straight line, stiff, fast, but you can't get off press, then you're in trouble.
Who's your next guy, DJ?
So this one, and again, I haven't put my final list together, so there's a chance he's going to be right on that border. He's got a chance to get inside my top 75. So I'm going to cheat on this one and say Kyle Williams, but he's right on that mix, right on that borderline for me of
he's 90th in the consensus board. So for this exercise, he counts.
So I can use that one. Okay. I feel like I got a lifeline there. I just think his tape's really, really good, and he's someone who can win at the line of scrimmage, can win at the top of routes, was excellent at the Senior Bowl. I think he probably, if you were just going to grade releases at the Senior Bowl, you would say he was the best guy there. So I'll go Kyle Williams with my second one.
That Senior Bowl.
He's 91st.
That changed.
For you, Dane.
Yeah, I think that changed everything for him. It put him on a more national radar. And then he ran at the Combine, ran the 4.40, then he got hurt, so had to bow out of part of the Combine, then he misses pro day. But, I mean, there's a reason he's been on probably more 30 visits than just about anybody. He's racking up the frequent flyer miles because a lot of teams are interested in the skill set and just how hard he was to cover throughout that week of practice at the Senior Bowl. He definitely helped himself.
So this is my question, because it seems like everyone likes Kyle Williams. Every single person with a platform over the last month has talked about how much they like Kyle Williams.
Yeah.
Why isn't he ranked higher for you, Dane? And why isn't he been ranked higher generally throughout this process if he seems to be a favorite of virtually every single person with a microphone or a keyboard?
I mean, I like him. He was a guy that coming into the year really wasn't on the radar, but, probably about Halloween is kind of got heads up like, hey, this guy's pretty good. Then he got the Senior Bowl invite. And when you watch his tape, you see explosive off the line of scrimmage. He can vary his release package, short area burst after the catch. And at the end of the day, let's focus on these receivers. Can they get open? Can he catch the ball? Can you do something after the catch? He does all three of those things pretty darn well. And so that last season that he had at Washington State really helped himself, because he was former UNLV transfer, goes to Washington State, 14 touchdown catches in his final year, had almost 1,200 yards. He's a little bit undersized. Like, he's not the biggest guy. So I think if you really prioritize size and play strength at the position, you're not going to have a top 50 grade on him. But somewhere on day 2, I think he makes sense.
He gave me an Emmanuel Sanders vibe when I studied him. And the funny thing is, I do think there is an anchoring effect of, and this happens all the time, and I remember being in rooms where this would happen, where you look at what the reputation is of someone, you haven't heard of him, you don't know who he is. And I think I'm putting myself out there with the grade that I gave him, which puts him like in the 3rd round. I've never heard of this guy from Adam. Nobody's talked about him to me the whole year. Like, I don't know who he is. Then I go to the Senior Bowl and I'm like, yeah, I planted my flag on this guy. Like, I'm one of the Kyle Williams guys. And so that's his anchor. And it's like, okay, he can move up a little bit or move down a little bit, but that's where he is on the board. And what happens is people come in after the process and they've heard about him and he's had this great Senior Bowl week, and coaches come in and coaches watching for the first time, and they're like, why are you so low on Kyle Williams? I'm like, I thought I was like the flag bearer for Kyle Williams. Like, so there is some of anchoring effect there.
I appreciate it. A 5'10 and a half, 190 king. We respect those guys, even if he's a little bit undersized to be an NFL receiver. Dane, who is your other guy that you wanted to mention here? Who is your other receiver outside of the top 75 that you have liked?
I'm going to go with KeAndre Lambert-Smith here, from Auburn, Penn State transfer.
God, you love Auburn, man. Dane is such a big Auburn guy.
I didn't even notice that, but yeah, 2 for 2.
They feed you well down there? What happened? What's going on here?
Lambert-Smith, explosive athlete. I mean, he averaged almost 20 yards a catch this past year, his 1 year at Auburn, with not so great quarterback play. Maybe that's the nice way of putting it. So he's just a competitive guy, straight line explosive. He tested really well. So he ran in the 4.3s. He had the best short shuttle of anybody in this draft during the process. So it matches what he put on tape in terms of the movement skills. Now, I think we're still talking about a day 3 type of player. So he is a little bit limited in terms of the way he's going to win. But if I'm looking for a 4th receiver on my roster, this is the type of guy I would target once you get to the 4th round, 5th round, because, again, there's going to be volatility to his game, but there's also explosive talent that I feel like I can get more out of.
I'm looking down at my notes, and I wrote, he plays big. He runs up on his toes. He can track the ball and pull away. Like, he's got a second gear when the ball goes up in the air. He had a big-time one-handed catch and going through everything. I can't remember who that was against, but I thought he played with
touchdown catch, yeah.
Yeah, tempo and burst. I thought he was clean in and out. Like, there's a lot of positives on here. Literally, the negative was he just got hung up and pressed a little bit. He got stuck a little bit there at the line of scrimmage. So just, getting a little bit better in that department. But I gave a grade that's just like I gave Kyle Williams like a 6.2 grade, and he's a 6.1. Like, he's in that neighborhood. He's a little bit below that, but he's not that far off.
A lot of guys seemingly, Dane, that you think are just like a speed ingredient for offenses, where maybe they're not complete players, but as you round out your room, guys like Horton and Lambert-Smith are just going to be able to kind of fill that bucket for you, depending on the other skill sets that you have, seemingly based on how you're kind of ranking or talking about these guys.
Well, and guys that defenses have to account for, because they can sell double moves. They flash potential as a catch and go type of weapon. It's more than just possession guys. The guys that have real speed and guys that are competitive too. I think that's such an important ingredient, not just the speed, but the competitiveness to go up and come down with the football and, fight through whatever defenses are going to throw at you. And so, yeah, both these guys I'd love to have on my receiver depth chart and, see what we can do with them.
Let's get to tight ends, DJ. Your first tight end outside of the consensus top 75 that you were a fan of.
Well, first of all, I was going to check and see if Auburn had one off the top of my head.
Fairweather, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Here's his shrine game, yeah.
See, Dane's got one. He's got Auburn in the holster here. We go to
Auburn made the playoffs this year, right? I mean, they were great. So, yeah.
That's why Dane was relatively lower on Bo Nix, because he spurned Auburn and left. That was the problem.
Right. That's it.
Mea culpa, yeah.
I by the way, we used to always, and I don't remember who the team was. It used to be like Georgia back in the day before like the Kerby years, but you'd be in the draft room and we like go over the players and we'd be like, how did Georgia not win more games? Like, look at the board. Like, look at all these guys. But there was always teams like that. So we're looking at tight ends outside the top 75. So that's going to take all the big dogs out of there for me. I'll tell you, let's see. You know who I like is I'm a Joshua Simon guy from South Carolina. Has some medical stuff in the background. He's 6'4", just under 240, ran 4.65, but he's an F. He can really, really run. He's got burst after the catch. He can make plays outside the frame. Had a big time one-hand catch against A&M, was like one of those flash plays. But I just thought, like, going through and I was watching all those tight ends one after another. I'm like, this guy's kind of juicy, to the point where I even called Beamer and I'm like, why is nobody talking about this kid? Like, what am I missing here? Like, nobody's even mentioning this guy. And he was like, no, I don't get it. The guys, we started, we had an offensive meeting and we're like, we've got to start running more things through him and get him the ball more. So that'd be one I'd come with.
He's your 17th tight end, Dane.
Mm-hmm. But I do
class.
like him. Yeah. I mean, it does speak to the class.
You do hate him because he's an Auburn rival. He's at South Carolina.
Exactly. Yeah. There's explosive elements to his game, no doubt about it. And he's really long. I mean, I think he has almost 34-inch arms. And so, that one-handed catch you were talking about, like the catch radius, the ball skills, I think that's something that's going to really stand out at the next level. So, the blocking, like a lot of these guys, the technique's not always there. It needs to get better there. But, I think part of it, why he's an older player, so he's going to be 25 years old as a rookie. But, why didn't South Carolina use him more? Because, I mean, the talent says that he could be a playmaker. So, I think it does speak to the tight end class that we have this year.
I have the George Kittle rule that I put into employ after everybody was notoriously low on him, including myself, which was, of all the positions, this has kind of turned into a traits position. Like, don't get carried away with college production. Don't even worry about it, and just kind of grade the flashes, grade the traits, and he definitely has the traits.
I want to say that, the tight end specifically, like the health of your offense can also affect that. Like Sam Laporte didn't have a lot of raw numbers at Iowa, but Iowa threw the ball like 7 times a game. So sometimes it can be difficult to pin these guys down. DJ, who's your other tight end that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, and I mean, I almost feel like I have to say that, like, inside my top 75, there's a bunch more guys than normally would be inside the top 75 because of this tight end class. So you're getting down to, like, your 8th tight end and beyond. I think, I think Gunnar Helm has been punished a little bit. He didn't run well. He wasn't healthy there at the combine, but I still think he's a good player. He's got excellent ball skills. You can watch the Georgia game and see all that. I think he plays fast enough. He's a little bit sticky at the top of routes, but to me, the ball skills are outstanding. And to me, I think he'll probably go in that late 3rd, early 4th round range is probably where he comes off the board.
He's 96th in your top 100, Dan. He is not inside the top 100 consensus board, so you're a little bit higher on him than the general public seems to be right now.
Yeah, well, and obviously what happened at the combine, I think that soured a lot of people on him. But I mean, just if you're focusing on the tape, he was the guy for Quinn Ewers in that offense. I mean, he was a mismatch weapon, even if maybe the testing doesn't always match up, and size is okay, not great, but I mean, consistently caught the ball and moved the chains consistently. Or sorry, move the sticks.
There we go. Not anymore. Not anymore. True. By the way, I told somebody this earlier today. Can I just, on that point, is guys who would only find this funny, there's not many people that would. This is a text I got from John Spanos from the Chargers. This is the end of a text. I should add, as the co-chairman of the Future of Football Committee, we were the ones pushing the virtual line to gain measurement. I apologize for all the grief you've taken over your podcast name. I got an apology. I feel like I got a just due apology for ruining a handle that I've had for 13 years. So thanks.
And now it's going to be a vintage thing, though. There's going to be like a nostalgic tinge to it now. Now you can sell it as that.
Yeah, there you go. Back to yesteryear. Yeah.
Dane, who are your 2 tight ends that you wanted to mention here?
So I'm curious if this guy's in your top 75, DJ, but Terrance Ferguson from Oregon.
Yeah, he's up there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was okay to use him because what's he on the consensus board?
87. Robert? So he just sneaks in.
He's not getting to 87. I'll tell you that.
No, right. I agree. Yeah, he's I think right inside the top 75 for me. I mean, he is. I think when you look at the way he was used, like the production doesn't jump off, but he was kind of a slot. They'd use him as a wing, inline a little bit. They'd often use him like as a blocker for a 2 count, then release him, make him a target. I just saw a really good athlete, 6'5.5", 250 pounds. And the combine did not disappoint. 4.63 in the 40, 39-inch vert. Very much like a snatch and go type of receiver where he's got really good hands and he's got a little bit after the catch. He finds the sticks. He runs physical routes. Willing as a blocker, even if maybe the execution is a little underwhelming. So actually, he reminded me a little bit of another Ferguson, no relation, but Jake Ferguson over in Dallas, where maybe nothing's truly exceptional about what they're doing, but it's just a good athlete, catches the ball well, and I think it'll be a pretty good value, probably somewhere in the 3rd round.
I had a chance. I only think this might have been the only college game I was able to go to this year, but the Chargers were on the road playing Cleveland, and we traveled a day early. So I had a chance to go watch Oregon, Michigan, and you go down there for warmups. And I remember, obviously wanted to see those Michigan guys, and Derek Harmon had buzz and those things, and Connerly. But I'm watching Loveland come out and warm up, and I love Loveland. He's my 7th overall player. But I remember going down to the other side of the field and seeing Ferguson. I'm like, geez, these guys look like body doubles. And then the numbers came out and they're almost identical. Loveland was 6'0", 248. Ferguson was 6'0", 247. So they're 1 pound difference there. But this dude can really run. He's got that long stride. He can build speed. I thought he was better on the move, than one of these guys going to work back down the stem, but just get him on the move. You can hit him on overs and crossers and verticals and, all that stuff. I thought he was really good on that. I just thought he's height, weight, speed. He catches the ball easy, and he's more than willing in the run game. So, to me, this guy's going to go in the 2nd round. I'll be very surprised if he makes it to the 3rd round.
He should, yeah.
Who's your other tight end, Dane, that you wanted to hit?
So I went with more of a later round guy, CJ Dippre from Alabama. If you're looking for more of the hand on the ground, more of an inline tight end, that's what this guy can be. Pretty good as a blocker. The production as a pass catcher is not going to jump out at you. Only had like 21 catches this year and no touchdowns. But, he wasn't featured that way. And you feel like there's more meat on the bone here with him as a pass catcher. But his special teams profile, what he gives you as a blocker, and then you feel like there's more to him as a pass catcher. And we're talking about him probably 5th, 6th round. So the value of what you're getting with him there, I think that's part of what makes him one of my favorite under-the-radar type of guys.
You have one of these every year, Dane. Your Tip Ryman of 2025 is this guy from Alabama.
I love it. Look, to me, he's a make the team, find a role guy. I didn't view him as a starter, but in line, he's tough. He's actually tough with the ball in his hands as well. He just didn't have any snap or any juice out of breaks. He's always drives me nuts when guys are jump body catchers. They don't trust their hands. And he struggled balls on his back hip. So I didn't think he was a talented receiver, but like Dane's saying, if you want to employ him as your 3rd tight end and he's going to come in there and play special teams and help you in the run game a little bit, I think he's a role guy. I think he finds a way to have a role.
Let's get to offensive linemen. DJ, your favorite offensive lineman outside of the top 75 that you want us to talk about?
Favorite offensive lineman outside the top 75. Okay. Some of these guys I think are going to end up going in that range. I'll tell you what, I'll go, and I'm kind of on an island on this because I couldn't drum up support for this guy around the league, but I like Jalen Travis from Iowa State. I just think he's going to end up being a functional starter at right tackle. He's massive. He's almost 6'8". He's almost 339 pounds. He's got length. He's got some knockoff power in the run game. It's kind of he's a little tight and a little stiff. He's going to kind of wrestle you up top with his upper body. He's not really a space player. But to me, I look around the league and I see this profile playing at right tackle in this league. So I'm not saying I love him. And I think this tackle class is very lean, but like that's somebody that I'll take a shot on him when we look up, a couple years from now and this guy's a functional starting right tackle. I won't be surprised. Is that a really exciting sales pitch right there?
I think that's kind of the nature of right tackles, though. And the fact that you're just tossing a guy out there with 35-inch arms and saying, get in the way, I think there are worse plans than that.
Dude, he is strong as an ox. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And he's both, like, you can tell he has a basketball background. Like, he has basketball feet, but the earth does rumble a little bit when he moves because, like you said, this is a big boy. And I thought that was the bowl game against Miami. I thought he did a really nice job just setting up shop, say, I'm going to make you go around me. Yeah. I think, do you think he could sneak into day 2, or you think he's firmly a day 3 guy?
I mean, I gave him what equates to a 3rd round grade. Like that, this profile usually kind of rolls off the board in the 3rd round, take your flyer on the big stiff right tackle. But we're so starved for tackles in this draft that, who knows, maybe that could push him up the board a little bit. If I'm going to go, let's go to the interior then. So I did one on the edge and it's not a good tackle draft. So outside the top 75, I mean, Jared Wilson's going to be probably right on that borderline for me. He's, out of Georgia. He's going to be a starter. He's going to play for a long time. He plays the wide base. He's got some quicks to the second level. He's just smart and sturdy. And, for centers in this league, that's kind of where the line is. He's got decent, length compared to what the rest of these centers have, these inside guys have. I just think he's going to be, a guy who's going to start a lot of games in this league.
He's 82nd on the consensus board, Dane, but he's 57th on your final top 100 that you released last week.
There we go.
I was sold after the combine, seeing him move, and talking to his teammates. I mean, they rave about him as a leader, as a dude, which is always good to hear. I just, even though he's a 1-year guy at Georgia in terms of a starter, I think he's going to plug and play. I mean, I think he's good enough to, if you need a center, and this is not a good center class. Zabel, if you think he could play center at the top, and then Jared Wilson somewhere on day 2. But I think he could be a Rodney Hudson type where, he's going to come in and be a starter for a long time.
I was going to ask you, DJ, if you felt that the general weakness of the center class compared to a year like last year might push somebody like him up the board a little bit.
Yeah, there's some love on the streets for Jonah Monheim in that range too, just because he's real smart and athletic. He just got to get stronger. He doesn't have a ton of core strength, but he can really move. So if you're a zone team or you at least major in zone, outside zone stuff, you're gonna like Monheim for what he can do. But there are not many of them, man.
I'm looking at your center rankings right now, Dan. There's a guy from Oregon State who's a 7th-year senior.
He's not a bad player. Joshua Gray I have Joshua Gray 1 spot behind Jared Wilson. Wow. Not the longest guy in the world, but he's a good football player. He should be. He's practiced quite a lot.
Former left tackle. Yeah, he's almost as old as us. Yeah.
Dane, who are your offensive linemen that you wanted to mention?
Well, I'm going to stick with Georgia because, I think most people know about Jared Wilson and Tate Ratledge, but Dylan Fairchild, I don't think gets nearly enough love at guard. 6'5", 325 pounds. When everything clicks for him, I see Wyatt Teller vibes. I mean, muscular frame, stout trunk, former state champion wrestler. That's catnip for offensive line coaches. Strong, gritty player, needs to do a better job just keeping things in sync. So, the hands, the feet, the eyes, when it's all in sync, it's all on the same page. I mean, he dominates the guy in front of him. It's just, it needs to be more consistent with that. And so I think and he was banged up a lot this year. So consistency, one of those guys where I think the more he plays, the more consistency he will develop. So I know he has the aggressive demeanor. I know he's tough and physical. If this hits, I think you're getting, Wyatt Teller was like a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
If it hits, I think it could look something like that type of mold of player.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you said Wyatt Teller, then I read my notes and I'm like, gosh, if I go back and read my Wyatt Teller notes, they probably would read very similarly. Strong hands. He can control the point of attack. He's stiff. He plays a little high. He's on the ground a little too much. But I love the fact he's always looking for work, just a little bit limited in space as an athlete. But that's, to be honest with you, probably exactly what Wyatt Teller's notes would look like when he's coming through the draft process. So that's one of those ones. And I'm as we going through here, I'm writing these guys down and everything too, because we do have time. And it's like, I've long had respect for Dane and how hard he works. And so if Dane says that he likes somebody and I'm a little bit lower on him, I'm gonna go back and revisit him a little bit and put new eyes on him and look at that. So that's an interesting one. I like that one.
And your second offensive lineman is even deeper cut than that, Dane. Who is the second O lineman that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, this is my top non-combine offensive player, Bryce Cabeldue from Kansas. College tackle who's going to move inside to guard, explosive at the snap, especially with some of those jump sets, so he can cut off those rush angles. Tight physical hands, creates torque in his upper half. The lack of length will show up with him, but I just love how competitive he is, especially in the run game. So, and obviously we know that Kansas offense with Devin Neal running the rock, they had a pretty good run game. Also had a Logan Brown, the left tackle, also in this draft. But I think even though he didn't have the guard reps in college, he looked really comfortable during East-West practices at guard. And so I think there's something here. I think somewhere in the 5th round, a team's going to take a chance on him. And I think it's a type of guy you want to take a chance on, because the way he moves, the way he tests, really backed up what he put on film. And so that aggressiveness, along with the athleticism and movements, there's something there.
Yeah, I'm excited to go back through and watch some of him from the All-Star stuff, because I have not seen that yet. I would not personally wasn't like big on him off of the tape and kind of pushed him aside pretty early on in the process. So that's a good one for me to go back and see if I can't locate that stuff and take a peek at it, because he did tested better than I thought he would have. To be honest with you, I did not think he would run that well. So that's a good revisit for me.
Let's get to the other side of the ball, DJ. Your 2 defensive linemen outside of the top 75 or so that you were a fan of.
Okay, I'll give you a couple like pet projects here, guys that I really liked. This one is going to be Q Robinson from Alabama, who last year, this guy for me was kind of Jarquez Hunter. And I wrote that this guy's a lighter version of Jarquez Hunter. He's fluid and sudden, and he can uproot tackles. Sniffs out a screen and from when he's playing off, like he can play out in space. He bowled the crap out. I don't know which Georgia guard it was, but just bowled the stuffing out of him. To me, he's just you'll see guys that attack blocks and some guys that catch blocks. Like, he just plays forward, and he is an unbelievable special teams player. So he's somebody that I think Jarquez Hunter went in the 3rd round. I think he probably more is like a 4th round, but someone that when you watch him, you're like, he has a role on special teams right out the jump. And I think there's more. I think there's more there as a rusher with him.
So he's already looking for apartments in Philly, is what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I don't know where that's gonna go, but that was my
the last line of your beast write-up, Dane, was his saving grace is his coverage talent on special teams, which might keep him on a roster as he grows as a defender. So I think both of you guys are relying on the fact that that's going to be where he can contribute early on.
He'll have a spot, yeah, with that. That's my opinion. So anyways,
go ahead. At Alabama, you wish there was more production, backfield production, more of a role. But yeah, I mean, you watch him for 5 minutes, you can tell, all right, there's something here. It's just, okay, we have to get the rest out of him. And he was banged up this past year. That played a part in that. But he's a really interesting player. And
the other thing with him, I mean, look, it's like, gosh, I'd like to have more. But I mean, gosh, they couldn't get Jahad Campbell on the field as an edge rusher behind those 2 first-round picks. They moved him off the ball. So it's like he's had to wait behind some good guys. And in some ways, I almost give the kid credit that he stuck it out. That's a great example of someone who was blocked by 1st-round picks who could have bounced. So anyways, that was an interesting one.
Who's your other D lineman, DJ?
Yeah, let me give you one more here. Outside the top 75. Yeah, because to me, like, I'm gonna probably end up with Josiah Stewart inside my top 75. Hey, I love
Let's
him.
talk about him though, because
okay.
He's 72 on the on the consensus big board.
Okay,
But he's somebody that I just, based on everything I've read about him, I find him interesting and compelling. So what has made you a fan of Josiah Stewart, DJ?
I'm a big fan of him. Undersized, obviously, but he's just like, he is a bolt of lightning and energy, like balls to the wall. He's got power. Like you'll see him shake bull guys, which he shouldn't be able to do at his size. And it's just like a hot knife through butter. He can dip and rip you. He plays big at the point of attack. He plays with huge energy. Like he just looked like the best defensive player on the tape in a lot of those Michigan games you're watching, where he's surrounded by first round picks. Go back to last year. Like to me, like watching him in his career, and I remember seeing him when he was at Coastal, right? Is that where he started? Because they were playing against App State on like one of those Tuesday night Sunbelt thrillers. And I was like, okay, this is somebody. And then it was literally like years later, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is the guy that I saw like when he was a young pup. And I think he almost tried to like fight the App State quarterback in that game, because I remember it jumping out to me. But he is. I just love the way that he plays. I love the style he plays. There's one litmus test I have for guys when you're looking at like split zone and you see an edge defender and you see a tight end coming across to block him. There's guys who catch and brace and turn, and then there's guys like Nolan Smith.
I was going to say it's the Nolan Smith test. That's exactly what it is.
That's what it is. And that's, to me, how you play that block says a lot about you. And this guy, his card, it's not going reverse.
Everything I've seen from him, Dane, play style wise, I'm like, I love this guy. I love the way he plays. I love the mentality. He tested a little bit at that kind of fake Will Johnson pro day they did the other day, and it was not great. And we don't have a lot of other numbers on him. How concerned are you about squaring some of the physical questions with the play style that everyone seems to really like with Josiah Stewart?
Yeah, and so during that was a Monday, I'm texting with a scout who was there, and he's giving me stuff on Will Johnson. Then I asked him about Josiah Stewart, and he said he just put the trash can emoji, and I was like, oh no. And so he ran his 40s and 4.84, 4.86. That's all he did too. He only did the 40-yard dash, so no jumps, no shuttles, anything like that. And it's like, all right, I don't know what to do with this number, because he sure doesn't play like a 4.8 athlete.
Plays a heck of a lot faster than that.
Oh yeah. And so he's 80th on my top 100, and I can't, the beast is out, so I can't change it now, but I don't think I would, even if I could, based on that 40, because everything you said matches up with kind of my notes. Very purposeful with his hands. He creates so much force with his get off in those first two steps, where he can create the speed to power. And the size is obviously a little bit underwhelming, 6'1", 250, but he uses it to his advantage, getting underneath blocks, helping with the leverage. And he's just, ultimately, you want defensive linemen that hate to stay blocked. He's one of those guys. He will spin off contact. He will use his hands. He will find a way to come unglued and make a play, whether that's pursuing the quarterback or getting after it in the run game. So he's just relentless and an easy guy to like.
Dane, you're two defensive linemen.
Let's go with Barryn Sorrell from Texas. Looks the part, 6'3.5", 256 pounds, muscled up, as one scout put it. If I looked like him, I wouldn't own a shirt. I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because that's how he looks. And he tested pretty well. He ran in the 4.6s, 3-cone was around 7 flat. He also, watching him at the combine, his hoop drill was just like, wow, okay, I like the film. I like what he did at the Senior Bowl. And here at the combine, it's like, all right, we're just checking boxes. Really physical, aggressive, knows how to break down the rhythm of blockers once he's engaged. He's very smart, and his teammates just rave about him. He was one of the dudes on that defense, just in terms of the leadership and all of that. So guys like this usually carve out long-term careers. They have size, they have power, and then the two M's, makeup and motor. So I'll bet on those guys all the time.
Yeah, I'm just looking through here. He's just a few spots where I have him here. So he's hanging out in that he's a few spots above, like I have one spot over Braden Swinson. So that tells you where I have him. So I think he's got a chance to go in the third round. Stand up edge rusher. He can long arm you. He's got instincts, plays with effort. stuns pullers, to go back to what we were just talking about. He's really, really good on games. He's kind of, to me, someone that was just, really at the line or a little above the line in a multitude of areas, but there's not one thing he did that just like blows your socks off. Like, he's just a really solid, reliable, dependable player. To me, he's like your third end, like your third edge setter. Like, he's your guy that he's rolling through the game, but he's not going to be your primary guy.
Yeah.
Who's your other defensive lineman, Dane? Oh,
I say he'll probably play 10 years in the league. So
yeah.
So I went go on the interior, Jamaree Caldwell, and I probably could have. This is what, my third Oregon player. Probably could have. Jordan Birch wasn't eligible. Hardman wasn't eligible, but try to get as many ducks here as we can. Caldwell, fun story. You have JUCO guys, you've got walk-ons. Rarely do you have the walk-on at JUCO, but that's what Jamaree Caldwell was, which I think tells you something about how much he loves football and how much he wanted this. And it's interesting because at Houston, he was a 3 technique, and then he transfers to Oregon, got paid and took a step up, and they played him more as a 1 next to Harmon, and he played his role. But I think that ability to be an interchangeable defensive tackle is something that's really going to help him going through the process, because teams know what he is. They know that he can hold up in the run game, but he also has a little bit of juice. If you want to use him as a 1-gapper, let him attack, get vertical. So I see short area quickness. I see a guy that's built low, wins with leverage. I think he's one of those guys. He's a little bit older. He's going to be a 25-year-old rookie, but I think late third, early fourth, somewhere in that range. He's one of those defensive tackles that I think belongs in that area. Yeah,
I have him at a similar spot there. Nose tech, 3 tech, press out block, steady pocket push, plays with a wide base. He has like sneaky quickness on the backside of the run game. And he looked good in the Senior Bowl setting. Showed he's a little more athletic. My favorite story about him, by the way, though, is that I did hear from one team that his nickname was DoorDash because I think it was Tosh. It was Tosh Lupoy, or one of the coaches would have to check his phone to make sure he wasn't ordering food in the middle of the night. So they had to check his DoorDash. order.
Who amongst us, right? I actually respect. I respect him more because of that. DJ, before you get out of here, very quickly, let's just do 2 DBs. Dane and I will do the linebackers after you hop off, but I want to get you out of here. So give me 2 DBs outside of the top 75 that you've enjoyed in the process here. Yeah,
I'm going to give you 3 for the price of 2. Give me all 3 Cal guys. I love the 3 Cal DBs. I love Craig Woodson at safety, who's smart and tough and dependable, takes the ball away. He's just a firm tackler, and everything at the school, rave about the leadership and the makeup and the character. So I know he's a little older. He's played a lot of ball though. I'm a fan of his. And then Noel Williams and Marcus Harris at corners. Noel Williams has more production. Marcus Harris has more traits. But I think all 3 of those guys, and if you look at Cal's been like a sneaky good DB school over the last decade. I was going to say,
who's developing those DBs at Cal?
They've had a sneaky good number of DBs, man. And I think all 3 of those guys are starters. And I think all 3 of them, to me, belong in the 3rd round, but I'm guessing that we won't see them all go in that range.
Well, and that Cal defensive coordinator is now an assistant with the Saints. So we'll see how many of these guys end up in New Orleans in the draft. I'm with you. Noel Williams is one of the guys I wrote down. How competitive he plays. The big question was speed, and he ran a 4.50 at the combine, which not great, but check the box, good enough. And so watching him going up against like A.O. Minor and all, everyone was a battle, physical. He's got ball skills. Noel Williams is, I think he should go somewhere in the top 75 picks. I'm not sure if he will, but he should.
He's 100th on the consensus board. He is 66th on your final top 100.
I'm going to be more in line with Dane on that one. He's going to be 50 to 70 for sure on my list.
Yeah. DJ, we'll let you get out of here. You've got 10 million things that you've got to worry about over the next 9 days or so. We sincerely appreciate you carving out the time to do this with us today.
Dude, I love both you guys, respect both of you, and it's the time just kind of flies by, honestly. And it's good. Like, these are good scrimmages for me. Like, I love doing this because it's just helpful. It's a couple names that I haven't thought of in a while. Dane gave me a couple good ones to go revisit and do some last minute work on. So I enjoyed it, boys.
Talk to you soon, buddy. All right, Dan, you had Noel Williams as one of your DBs. Who is your other DB that you wanted to mention here?
I got to stay true to Jacob Parrish, Kansas State. I mean, look, he's on the consensus board, isn't he? I think. So
he's 85th. So he's just
okay.
outside of the top 85, and he's significantly higher for you. You have him 67th overall.
Yeah, and I had to restrain myself a little bit on that one. Look, he reminds me of those Washington DBs that they turned out. You know, the Trent McDuffies, the Byron Murphys, the all those guys. He's just tough, physical, fast to the ball, read, react. Jacob Parrish will show up in the run game. He can play press. He can play off. I think his size would suggest that maybe he's a slot with just, because the size is not on his side. He's what did he come in at? 5'9", 7".
5'9",
So
190. Yeah, 31-inch arms, essentially.
Yeah, so I mean, right around 5'10", 190. Not long, but he plays fast and physical. And I don't know, a scout told me about him back in September. I had not put eyes on him yet, and then I was kind of hooked from day one as soon as I started watching him. So Jacob Parrish, I think somewhere, top 75, he should come off the board, but I doesn't sound like he will, but I think he should.
It seems like outside of, I guess Jedi Barron's getting pushed up a little bit in the process, but it feels like there's a lot of corners maybe in like the second or third round that make up like a majority of this class. It might not be like a top heavy class outside of Travis Hunter and then Johnson, but
Right.
It seems like you can potentially get some starters in that day 2 range if you need one at that spot. Is that fair?
It'll be. I'm fascinated to see how how many DBs come off the board in round 1. Because let's take Travis Hunter out of it, but Will Johnson is. Where does he land after not running the 40? And teams are kind of worried with Will Johnson with the injuries. Will Johnson's really going to be a wild card. Then Jedi Barron, like we talked about, some teams see the versatility, some teams see a nickel only. Trey Amos could be one of those guys from Ole Miss who's rises into the top 30 when it's all said and done. Maxwell Harrison from Kentucky ran a 4.2 at the combine, so that some teams are high on Harrison. And then you've got some of the wild cards that we're probably going to go on day 2 that are injury guys. Talking about Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame and Siobhan Ravel from East Carolina. So this is a really interesting corner class because I'm not sure the order they're going to come off the board on draft night, but there's a lot of talent here that could end up being something in retrospect, when we look back at this class.
You have 6 guys with like second to third round grades. Amos, Thomas from Florida State, Ravel, Noah Williams, Jacob Parrish, Benjamin Morrison. All of those guys are in that range for you. That seems like a pretty stacked, crowded group at that range of the draft at one single position.
And I think almost all of them, not all of them, but I mean, Morrison was in my top 32 to begin the year. Ravel was 12 overall to start the season, and then his ACL injury happened. Thomas, I think he was getting first round love until he didn't run great. At his pro day, he ran a 4.58. So that probably knocks him out of the first round, but a team's going to get a really good player in round 2. So yeah, it's not a great corner class, but it's a pretty good corner class.
Let's hit the linebackers with DJ out of here. 2 linebackers outside of the consensus top 75 that you liked as you went through the process this year.
Okay, so I went with I got to look where Teddye Buchanan from let's go back to the Cal defense, I guess. Why not? So he, a UC Davis transfer, FCS guy, transfers to Cal and really productive. Had 114 tackles this year. The guy that just plays, and this is a theme, I guess, with a lot of my guys: fast, physical, persistent. That's how he plays. So it's easy to appreciate the way he moves and the way he attacks the football. He reads well. There's not a lot of indecision, so he understands his keys. He hits it. Can do some things as a blitzer. He's just he's an all-time captain type of guy. So you feel good about the intangibles. You feel good about, he was not a great athlete, good athlete, but you feel good about the person and the way he sees the field. So yeah, Buchanan. Why wasn't this Cal defense better? I mean, geez.
I was going to ask you, so I was looking it up as you were talking. They gave up like 22 points a game this year, so it wasn't bad. They were like 36th in the country in scoring defense. But
Cam
still,
Ward probably, he pushed up that average a little bit, even more so. So yeah.
And if you've got 5 guys that are NFL players in your back 7, it seems like you might do a little bit better than 33rd in scoring defense nationally.
Right? Yeah. No, Justin Wilcox, he's got something brewing over there. Because they got some players. Cal was stuck in kind of that no man's land. I guess they're in the ACC now, but them and Stanford are like, it's just so weird. But they had some players, no doubt.
there are some things related to football where if you were to test me on it, my score would be like embarrassingly bad for somebody who does what I do for a living. For a while, it was like punters. Like right now, I'm a professional NFL reporter. If you asked me to name all 32 punters, I would do so poorly, I can't even describe it to you. One that might be the worst, if you lined it up right now and you asked me to connect the school with the conference, and we just went through all of the Power 5 schools, I would get like 30% of them right. Like the idea that Cal's in the ACC, there is not a single shot that I would have any idea that Cal is in the ACC.
What conference is SMU in?
I have no idea. It was Conference USA for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, then they went to the AAC, and now they're in the ACC as well with Cal. So yeah, it's the Wild West out there in college football right now, man. I mean, it's grab bag for just what can we do to get paid. And Texas OU, I mean, it's always been doing this, but Texas OU, when they went to the SEC, then that kind of led to USC and UCLA moving to Big Ten, and that was the crumbling of the Pac-12. And
I know, all right? Like, I understand that Oregon is in the Big Ten now, but Cal in the ACC, like, I had absolutely no shot. I will say I am proud of the fact that I was at a school that was on the front of this trend. The fact that they were an SEC team very quickly after I left. I went to a Big 12 school, and now my alma mater is an SEC school, which is even still like 15 years later, kind of hard to square sometimes.
Yeah. Well, speaking about those schools changing conferences, that's my second linebacker from UCLA, Kain Medrano, who is he's
incredible name.
It is, right? And I mean, his backstory is great too, because he grew up on a ranch. I mean, he was riding bulls in first grade. He was doing all that good stuff straight out of Yellowstone or something. But Carson Schwessinger's the main guy from UCLA. He's going to be a top 50 pick linebacker. Kain Medrano is kind of the other guy. He's someone that waited his turn, was more of a special teams guy, and then really it was 2023 became a starter, came back for a 6th year, and this past year he was outstanding. I mean, he led the team in interceptions. He was right behind Schwessinger in terms of production. Play speed is outstanding, and it showed up in a big way at the combine. He ran 4.46 at 6'3", 222. Yeah, that'll play. I mean, that'll be all right. 38-inch vert, under 7 seconds in the 3-cone, and so the athleticism you see on film with him, that shows up in the testing, and so somewhere. I think he'll go probably in the 4th round. A team's going to look at that athleticism and say, yeah, at the very least, we've got a special teams demon here. So the way he's wired and the athleticism, yeah, I'll bet on that.
All right. That's about 25 guys outside or just inside the consensus top 75 from Dane Brugler and Daniel Jeremiah. If you are a draft sicko, it seems like this is the sort of content that would be for you. So 25 guys that I think comfortably will probably be picked outside of the 2nd round, except for Terrance Ferguson. And the consensus on him is not that. So I feel pretty good about the amount of players we hit on this show and the amount of guys that people should be looking out for as we get a little deeper into day 2 and into day 3.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of good names, and names that when you're watching the draft, through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think you'll pop up, and you can feel a little bit better about your team drafting one of these guys, because I think all the names mentioned are being undervalued a little bit, but are just good football players and guys that'll play beyond their rookie contracts once they get to the league.
Quick note, we are going to be doing the pass catchers a little bit later this week, same as we've hit other positions over the last couple weeks. We're going to be doing that show on Friday, not on Thursday. So just some scheduling stuff. We're going to be pushing that back a little bit. So please, if you're looking for that on Thursday, if there's a reason it's not there, that show will be coming to you guys on Friday, and then we will have the mailbag into Monday. I mentioned it at the top of the show, but we're now about 8 days away. You'll be in Chicago a week from now, Dane. Live.
Can't wait.
In Chicago, nights 1 and 2 of the draft, rounds 1, 2, and 3. We will be reacting to every single pick live on YouTube. Please come join us. Night 1, me, Dane, Derek, and Bruce Feldman, which I'm extremely excited about. It'll be me, Dane, and Derek doing everything and breaking everything down on night 2. So I know you're going to be watching the draft. You can be watching DJ as you should, but please hang out with us as well, because I think that you're going to get some great insight on every single one of these picks and the types of guys that your team is getting. All right. That's all we got for today. We will be back on Friday with me, Derek, and Dane. For now, appreciate you guys listening. We'll talk to you soon.